Good morning, everybody. I thought it would be absolutely splendid if we started our day doing some chess puzzles. So the first thing I like to look at when we're looking at a chess puzzle is how many squares can the enemy king move to? The enemy king can only move to one square on f7. f7 is the only square our king can move. So I try to look at how can I get a piece to block this diagonal? Right? Do you see it? Do you see it, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. You can move your queen here, and that's going to block this diagonal. And the only move that black has here is to push this pawn, which we will then take. And they can also go here. They'll probably go here after. So go boom, bang, zoom, checkmate. Boom. Easy puzzle, super straightforward. And again, with our same strategy, folks, we're gonna go through 10 of these. That was one. It's gonna be a quick 10 puzzle morning. So we have our king. Now our king has a lot of squares to go around, so it probably won't be something as simple as that. Now we do have taking the knight with check, right? The queen could potentially take, and then the rook takes, and we end up being up a piece off of that. Now that's pretty tasty. That's pretty scrumptious. I'm going to try that. That's not it. That's not it. Why? Because we got tunnel vision, folks. We got tunnel vision. Because we're eyeballing this, but we're failing to see we don't have to give away our queen. Even though this king looks absolutely tasty, we don't have to give that away. Exactly. Braxton got it. There's a hanging queen here. And the beauty of this is after we take this queen, we also check the king, and we're going to win the knight anyway, so we don't have to make this trade. So boom, bang, zoom, we're going to win the knight. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So on to the next one. That was 2 of 10, ladies and gentlemen. My rating, I'm 4,000. I'm rated 4,000. But we're just going through some quick and easy 1600 level puzzles right now. Okay, so again, first thing that we check, how many spots can this king move? Well, he can't move here, 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 or here because of this delicious king eyeballing that king, right? So if we go rook h7, this is actually a very common mate. A lot of low elo players don't see. Last I saw you were 4,500. Did you drop some? I was on the way to 4,500. I think some members in my chat see me as a higher elo than I am. And they don't typically keep track too closely because they just see me as this divine vision of Tom Hawks, the all-time most humble. So this is a quick mate in one. Must be the amazing skill. I guess had me confused. Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. I'm sorry for the confusion. It is never my intention to confuse people on these streams. I want to be knowledgeable. I want to educate you guys. I want to drop that knowledge. Now this is a common. Honestly, I think we should spend some time on this because this is a common checkmate pattern that I know a lot of low elo players don't see. Bro, I woke up at 2 p.m. Hey, it happens. It happens to the best of us. Thomas Hawk Tua, that's right. Hawk Tua, let me talk to you. So this pattern, right? You want to put the king directly in front of their king, right? And then you just have to put the rook on the end there, right? And that is how you checkmate with a rook and a king. And you can do this when you're in an endgame as well, with only your rook king and your opponent's king. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of low elo out there. So this, first thing I check, right? How many squares can this king move? The king only has one square to move to, so it's probably going to be 1 or 2 moves in this puzzle that I'm going to be able to get a mate from. Janoi Master says 3 days ago. I must have missed the reference. But if you can move the knight out, right? If we move the knight out, we're going to have a check here. Okay, so that is the first thing I see. So if I move the knight here, right, and it's check, the king or the rook can block it, right? But that doesn't make sense because then we just take, right? If he goes over and we go queen g1, the rook is just going to take knight takes. So we're not really getting checkmate. So that doesn't seem like it. That doesn't seem like the move. What's an opening where I can hang pieces quicker and put me at the biggest disadvantage? The Tom Gambit, my friend. The Tom Gambit. And that takes place for black. Pawn f6, king f7. And if you're white, the opening, the Tom Gambit, is pawn f3, king f2. And I think you will have a lot of fun with that. I think you will. Yeah, it's a smothered mate. Surely we're definitely getting up into that realm. We're definitely getting up into that realm. You see, because we can go knight d1, check. He goes back, but then we rule back in. Boom, bang, zoom. Check again, and he runs back this way. It's a conundrum, and people can get caught up in this, right? So that doesn't make too much sense. We can go here again. That does very little for us. So knight h3, which I do see a few people in the chat dropping that knight h3, yes. That is, in fact, I think, the path that we are going to be taking here, right? Now, we could play king or queen g1, okay? Queen g1 is going to lead to the rook going through and taking it. But then the king is trapped in this corner, right? So check this out. Now this is called a smothered mate, folks. Because again, in our mantra, the king has nowhere to go now. Absolutely nowhere to go. So when we slide here, since this rook is no longer on f1, he can't take our knight. And that's a smothered mate. Is this pre-recorded? Yes. Yes. Nickman247, this is a pre-recorded chess puzzle stream designed specifically for your morning. Okay, so again, first thing that I check always, how many squares can this king move to? This king cannot move, right? Because our knight is blocking this. Right, that's the first thing I check. Now somebody did specify queen. Now queen to me does look very tasty. Okay, queen h5 looks very tasty because this looks like a checkmate. But then pawn blocks. But after pawn blocks, what happens there, folks? Right? Because we're gonna see that. Right? So pawn blocks. So then you have two options. You can take with knight. You can take with queen, then you're just gonna lose your queen. Right? But if you take with knight, pawn takes, and you're gonna win that rook. That looks pretty tasty in itself, but you also, I mean, if you really wanted, you could just take the pawn, right? But there's nothing really checkmating here. So what I like to look at is, do I have any other moves, right? I can bring this knight here and blunder my queen. That's always an option. Blunders are always options. They may not be the best options, but you can blunder. Now, I'm getting a lot of requests for bishop e2. Now, bishop e2, what that is going to do is, that is going to lead to a situation where you do blunder your queen, as I was saying. See, there are opportunities where you can blunder your queen, and that's good for you, right? Because maybe you can move the knight up here, but that wasn't the blunder. So what we're eyeballing here is bishop e2, which again, this is not the blunder, folks. This is not the blunder. See, it's all about options. It's all about options. Now, knight takes, I personally enjoy knight takes because I just win a rook. That's just personally what I enjoy because it's not always about checkmate, folks. It's not always about checkmate. Sometimes it's about sending a message. Okay? And that's really what I want you low elo players to learn, to really pick up, that sometimes it's not about checkmate, sometimes it's about sending a message to your opponent psychologically, something that Levy Rosman doesn't understand, because he doesn't really understand the psychology of chess. But hey, that's a conversation for a different day. So again, first thing I notice, the first thing I am eyeballing, how many squares can this king move? I see a potential back rank mate, right? But that's blocked by the knight, and it's also protected by these two rooks. So we're probably not going to get a back rank mate here, folks. That's probably not going to happen. And it would be a little ridiculous to think that we're going to get a back rank mate off of this when there are two rooks and there are two knights there. So I'm not even going to think about it. Not even going to think about it. And we also have the option of, taking the bishop with rook. That is an option, right? Because if rook takes, queen takes, and that is pretty scrumdiddlyumptious, right? And we also have, if rook takes bishop and queen takes our queen, then the rook can take back. So there are some options, but I want to see if there are any other forcing moves that we can make happen, right? I want to rule things out first. Like, would it behoove me to play knight e2 because I get a check and I'm also hitting this pawn, which is going to give me tempo because after I take the pawn, I'm attacking the rook, right? But you also have to consider, folks, your queen is hanging right now. Your queen is absolutely hanging. So maybe it isn't something up here. Maybe it is something, maybe we need to make a queen move. Now, what would happen if we took bishop with queen? Right? They would probably just take here, we would take back, and we wouldn't really gain anything from that. Right? So this is probably going to lead to us being up a piece. Does that make sense, folks? I know I rushed through that calculation, right? So if we're looking at bishop here, right? If we took bishop with queen, we would win a bishop and a rook, and our opponent would get a queen. That's not too hot. But if we take bishop with rook, we're getting a bishop, they're getting a queen, and we're also getting a queen. So we're up more points. So that's kind of how you count that. You have to calculate those trades, because you can make those trades, but you want to do it in a way where you're going to get more than your opponent is. You can't always do it, but you should definitely consider that. Now this, to me, looks like a mighty mating net, right? Look at how beautiful this mating net is. And this is in the same realm of, we need to eliminate how many squares our opponent can go. So just some options. I see we have rook g5, right? And if we go rook g5, our king can't go here. Our king can't go here. Our king is going to have to go in this corner, right? Because knight protects this still. This is all taken. So if our rook is here, the knight has to go in this corner. Okay, and then the question becomes, how do we get a checkmate off of this after we play rook g5? Right, this is how you have to think about this. What is your elo, bro? 4,000. I am over the board a 4,000 chess player. Yeah, it can't be knight f2. Knight f2 is way up here, and knight f7 is away from the action. A little bit away from the action. So if we're just eyeballing this is in fact not the correct move. And you might ask why, and it's because there's clearly a mate pattern here. So that's what you have to be thinking about. If you don't see the full mating pattern, don't just make a move. Don't just make a move. Now, I am getting requests for rook g4. Now, rook g4 is very tasty, folks. Why is rook g4 so tasty? Because you're right up in the king's business, and you're protected by the knight. Now, a little known fact, getting up in the king's business is always a wonderful idea. And now you can play rook h5, and that is checkmate. That is checkmate. Look at how beautiful that is. Look how scrumdiddlyumptious it is. Now again, we've seen something like this, right, folks? This is the rook king pattern that we started off with. Now, unlike the previous spot where the king was right in front and we can bring the rook down, we now have a pawn in place. So we're still controlling the same squares in front of that king, even though the king isn't directly in front of it, because this pawn protects e2. So then you simply go up to h1. Simply, yes. Tower h1, yes. Castle h1. Rook h1. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? And I want to really spend some time in this because I know a lot of new players don't get this. I'm muted. You might want to turn your volume up. I don't think I'm muted. Let me test that real quick, folks. There's gonna be some echo. There's some echo. So yeah, I'm pretty confident I can hear myself. So yes, beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to do one more puzzle. I'm muted. My mic isn't working. I think you guys are trolling me. Folks. I think my mic is working beautifully. I think my mic is working in such a beautiful way that people are going to call me and say, Tom, I cannot believe that somebody made our mics that good. Your voice is just so beautiful and so perfect. So anyway, so we are going to do one final puzzle. Ladies and gentlemen. And then what we are going to do is we're going to be dropping the VOD on TikTok so other people can enjoy these puzzles. So they can learn the chess knowledge that you guys got here in advance today. So again, first thing I check out, how many squares does this king have to move, folks? That's right, one singular square. Because this young rook is up in the king's business. He's up in that king's business, my friends. So when I'm eyeballing this, I see, okay, if I play queen f4, that's going to force the king to go this way. And then what could I possibly do as Tom Hawks from there? What can I possibly do if I'm here and the king moves this way? Maybe a lot of Garbola. Maybe there's a lot of Garbola there. But I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust the process. Sometimes in these puzzles, you just have to trust the process. Ooh, and look at this. Look at this. We can hit him with a check. But queen's going to take. So that's probably not it, folks. That's probably not it. That's probably not the move that we want to make. I do not want to make rook b2, and I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm not going to think about it. Take the castles. I do think that is a lovely idea, because now we went from, if we take this, we're just going to trade off a rook, right? To now we actually have the queen up in that, to where now when we take, we can take both rooks with check, and we're already attacking that pawn, right? And that is also going to protect our knight. So do you see how all the pieces work together, folks? Does that make sense? The coordination, the tempo, the power of this position. I hope you do. I hope you do, folks. Now, this was our last puzzle for the morning. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope these puzzles that we did, you learned something. You took something away from it, from the all-time most humble chess player. And I will see you in the next one.